From project reviews to incredible interviews, along with the general things in Web3, CraigO's Crypto Corner covers the space in a fun and engaging way. We dive in so our listeners can conceptualize, plan, strategize, and implement their very next move. We are quickly becoming a platform that enriches and supports the overall foundation of Web3. In order to grow, you need your voice to be heard. If you have infinite curiosity, then CraigO's Crypto Corner is just for you. Come join us.
Into CraigO's Crypto Corner, the best in Web3, blockchain, NFT, and cryptocurrency technology. Great reviews, incredible interviews with the leading people in the Web3 ethos, and just the general things Web3. Let's get to it today as we're plugging in the microphone because I can't hear anything yet. And as soon as I do, I will let you guys know. But we got Ralph Quintero from the Daily Ralpha. Thank you. With the weekly Daily Ralpha update. What's up, Ralph?
What is up, CraigO? Nice to see you, man.
Technical difficulties. Great to see you tonight. 8:30 p.m. Eastern.
I know. I'm loving the new time slot. It's late night with CraigO. I think it's time for an update, man.
You got good energy. I had to grab the Pepsi. All right. So
I used to be a DJ, man. This is like where I start getting a second wind.
I hear it in your voice, and so that is making me go to the solar plex and have to say, okay, Ralph, I'm here. I need to know what's going on, what's exciting, what's challenging, what's the update from you, my friend?
Man, there's a lot of challenges in this space right now, right? It's been super quiet. The last couple days have been very quiet. I mean, meme coin season lasted all of about a week, and then it died off, and NFTs really haven't kicked back up. You know, signs for that $1 million Bored Ape sale and Jack Butcher's announcement of his Christie's auction. There's not a lot going on in the space right now, even with new mints and stuff like that. So, you know, I've been watching closely for opportunities that we can have to buy maybe existing projects and things like that. But man, super quiet.
You know, I'm really loving what Truth Labs is doing, and they're doing some really cool things. You had it in the Daily Ralph the other day, so if maybe I can throw a couple things at you.
Sure.
How they're working the IP, how they're riding the middle line, and for the two people who minted the 187, which is a really cool project, there's definitely some rewards. Tell me a little bit about that.
For sure. I mean, look, Goblin Town and the entire team at Truth Labs have been doing incredible things. That's the team behind Illuminati as well. The 187, which is the project you referenced, was the original Illuminati mint that actually had a flaw in the contract, and they realized it after 187 people had minted that collection. Now, what was happening is that the gas fees were stacking. So by the time it got to number 187, gas fees were ridiculous. I happen to be, for full transparency, a holder of two of those. My son had also picked up two. I'm holding number 165 and 166. So I'm very close to that top end. So I paid a ton of gas for those things. But look, I'm happy now. I've been holding them. I haven't let go of them. And the fact that they're negotiating IP rights on behalf of the holders, I think is amazing. Because look, I'm a businessman and I could potentially go out and get licensing deals myself. But who better than to go out and get these licensing deals who has the best interest of the brand and the collection in mind than the project owners themselves?
You're 100% right. I actually, over the past 3 weeks, I picked up 3 of the Illuminati's, the pyramids, and I also got 2 believer passes. And so I'm in the ecosystem, super excited about their collaboration with Big Inc. I mean, talk about, I so respect the gangsta of really good traders, people who know when to hold, when to sell, and the value and what that team is doing, the creativity that they're doing. I actually got to speak behind the scenes with one of the devs that launched the whole thing. It was really a great conversation, really informative. It gets me even more excited to speak with Alex and the team about what they're doing in the ecosystem. Let me throw this one to you. Do all roads lead back to, and I'm feeling a little bullish because meme coin season isn't done, but I don't want to chase coin after coin just to chase loss after loss. And I see you in there, Matt Swayze. But do you think that all roads lead back to Pepe? Is it possible? And not to pump our bags.
Look, it is definitely possible, right? Like you look at coins that have withstood the test of time, the Shibas, the Doge. I think Pepe falls squarely into that category. It's one of the most well-known memes in this space. And it's going to see its ups and downs like those other two coins I just mentioned, but I think it has staying power. And I'm not planning on going anywhere in terms of my bags. I'm holding them, and I will continue to do so, and maybe even dollar cost average in if I have the opportunity to.
Well, now's a good time for me. Again, depending on where people bought, you bought a little before me, and you also clued me in into Turbo. And I don't think it's about getting the coins. I think what they represent. And I think a lot of our experiences right now, this early on in Web3, there's a lot of first of everythings. And I think that's a really cool thing. So if something resonates and it's a first of something, that's special.
Absolutely. So while we're talking about first for a second, I have an important public service announcement, and this will be in tomorrow morning's Daily Ralpha. About this same time last year, it was the first time that a lot of people were minting their ENS names, their ENS domains. A lot of people have also forgotten that they have to renew those ENS names. And you and I have a friend in common in one of the groups that we're in that unfortunately found that out the hard way when he showed up to VCon and realized that his ticket was actually not in his wallet that they had recently sent to him, because they sent it to his ENS name, but that ENS name had expired and somebody else had picked it up and is now holding it for ransom. So public service announcement is go check your ENS names. You can go to ens.domains, check the status of those, make sure you renew them, especially if it's tied to your main trading wallet. Make sure you renew it for as long as you possibly can.
And by the way, there's a functionality. I'll add to that. There's a functionality when you go into the ENS domains where you can actually click on Google Calendar, and it will set you a reminder automatically in your calendar. And you also, I believe, have a 3-month grace period, sort of that unique window before it's complete.
You do. But if you miss that window, or you miss the announcement, or you miss the reminder, you're done.
I hope that story has a good ending. I saw it today as well, and definitely, like, I felt, because that ENS was particularly, it's a direct identity to that individual. So
100%.
Smart moves are being made because they're listening to this right now. That's part of that plot, plan, strategize, and implement. Like, learn from the mistakes of others and don't repeat them. And then the person who got that say that L for the moment,
yep,
will bounce back better and will be more secure and will be more vigilant. And again, it happens to all people at all levels, experience, not experience. I just want to revisit one thing before we go into our show today. And super excited again is to always have you here. Jack Butcher is really an artist that excites me. We talk about the ultimate metadata is the promise of nothing. That is the best utility, is when you have an artist that creates, who builds social currency, then that grabs the attention economy. If you were to just kind of take a pin and put it on the wall for Q4 for this year, what are your thoughts on where Jack Butcher is going to go? Not the value of his collection, but his relevance in the space.
He's going to be right up there, Craig. So, my backstory with Jack, I've been following Jack since, the Web2 space, where, like, even before he was technically an artist, right? He's always been this incredible illustrator and has essentially taught a course on how to visualize value through graphics. So this is like perfectly aligned with his wheelhouse and who he is. But the fact that he's making art and that people are relating to it, and it's both digital and now physical, right? He's got this physical auction going on at Christie's right now, where the current bids are actually fairly high. Christie's has been having an incredible spring auction. In the last week alone, they've done $725 million in art sales, which is both good and bad. But sticking to Jack for a second, I think that he's gonna be up there, right? I don't think he's gonna be forgotten anytime soon. And I think, knowing his work ethic and how he's handled things in the past, he's gonna continue to create art and continue to build.
I love that. And so I want to get to this episode. Ralph, it's always amazing having you in here. And Tony, if you can just cue up a quick screen share. For those of you that are not subscribed yet to the Daily Ralpha, it's absolutely incredible. No worries, Tony. We'll come back to it at some point. I would highly recommend that you go and follow Ralph, but I would also recommend that you plug into the Daily Ralpha. And that is also shared in our pin tweets in Twitter. So we'll get to that in a moment. No worries about that, Tony. I get it. This is the beautiful thing about our studio. We move on the go. Even when we have problems, I misplug my mic. It happens. So the topics that we're going to discuss today, we're going to do a deep dive into the data and analytics provided by NFTGO in collaboration with CoinMarketCap for their Q1 report. And we're going to do that with Rommel, who is part of the team We're also going to talk about my personal beliefs on the meme coins. I won't touch upon it too much because, again, I don't want to continue to talk about things that are just pumped on liquidity and social currency. I want to talk about things that have steadfast, that are staples, that are going to be staples the next 5 to 10 years. And that's really what this podcast is about really putting a focused light on products and service, and really talking about how people can stay safe in this space and enjoy it and have fun and be collectors, maybe like myself. My mistakes on prior investments and some of my lessons learned. We'll talk a little bit about wallet security. When did meme coin season start? Again, that goes back to the third one that we talked about. NFT volume was around at a very start of the year till now. What does that look like? What will that be in Q4? We'll talk about the volume. I think it's taken a little bit of a break, and I think that's where our focus maybe should be, is about the NFTs right now and getting into the collections that really matter, because a lot of liquidity has gone into the things that don't really matter per se long term. 3 NFT strategies that can help you to build and pull liquidity and collect future blue chips, which I think is a really important play. So it's swinging from one branch to the next to grab onto the big tree in the clubhouse. NFT lending department. I don't know how I feel about that, but we're gonna pick some brains in here, and we're gonna all share our viewpoints and those who have had experience. I won't play with NFT lending platforms, me personally. I think it's double betting. The settling of the Blur marketplace and the strategy that got them to their current position. Number 10, why did Bored Ape Yacht Club remain so powerful in a seller's market, making their holders money before selling? And then some of their other collections, like Other Deeds. And Ralph, you and I have talked about that in extensive detail. What makes for a high quality collection? Assets per capita. I think it's an important thing for a lot of people to know. I realized that probably a couple months ago, to actually understand just the cliff from CryptoPunks to Bored Ape to MeBits, and those 3 in concession, just the average wallet value per user. The top 1% of NFT projects take up over 50% of the total market cap. That's powerful. We'll talk about the top 5 blockchains by market share, and we'll also talk about the top 10 projects and their respective market cap. So let's get to it. On my introduction to our special guest today is a dynamic individual who embarked on the journey into the exciting world of Web3 in 2021. He recognized the immense potential of this emerging technology. Rommel Brittle has the entrepreneurial spirit. He co-founded the Axie Infinity Guild, where he led and nurtured a thriving community of over 300 players. Through this experience, he gained valuable insights into the decentralized gaming landscape, honing his leadership and community building skills along the way. 2022, Rommel's passion for blockchain and digital assets led him to join the renowned NFTGO team, an esteemed organization at the forefront of the NFT space. As a member of the research team, Rommel contributed his expertise, actively engaged in exploring the vast potential for non-fungible tokens. Driven by his dedication and excellent performance, Rommel has risen through the ranks and now holds the position as head of community and partnerships. In this pivotal role, he spearheads initiatives to foster vibrant and inclusive community around NFTGO, while also forging strategic partnerships to expand the platform's reach and impact. With his extensive experience in Web3, his successful guild leadership, and his invaluable contributions to the NFTGO platform, Rommel Brittle is a trailblazer who continues to push the boundaries of what is possible in a rapidly evolving landscape of blockchain technology. Let's plot, plan, strategize, and implement our next move in Web3. GNGN, Rommel, how are you?
Hey, thank you for the introduction, GM. Actually, GN. Good night, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well, and thank you for the amazing introduction. I'm happy to be here with you guys, discussing about the latest trends.
Happy to have you here. And as well, I want to introduce, as every episode, my amazing co-host, Mr. Meta Matt. How are you?
Good, Craig. I know earlier in the episode you were talking about, you want the jitters to come back, and then the microphone unplugged, and it seemed like you kind of foreshadowed it.
It's great. And by the way, I messed up on a word, and that used to really get to me. Not anymore. We're here to learn. We're all here to learn together. We've got a quality platform, and I've got great people in my company tonight for the next hour. So I am truly honored. Rommel, MetaMatt, Ralph, this is so cool. So let's get right to it. And Rommel, I want to hit you off with I think the first question, right? NFT trading volume in the Q1 2023 increased sharply, but then declined. So my big question is why?
I think it is because of the Blur stuff. Blur launched their token in early Q1, so that's why. I mean, people were trying to farming the token, kind of the same behavior as Luxor and X2O2 at the same moment. I mean, in the past, but yeah, I think it is due to that. I think, for example, the new mechanisms that we're going to be speaking about, like floor lending, also increase the volume in Q2. Well, it is increasing the volume, but yeah, I think it's due to that, due to floor.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, and I love it. And I just wanted to throw this other one, which I thought was really interesting. I want to open up the floor, and Rommel, I'll have you chime in on this one first, and then Ralph. The number of holders dropped to its lowest point in the last 12 months on April 19th, with just 11,187 traders to be exact. The overall number of holders increased by about 12.62%, reaching around 4.3 million by April, according to NFTGO. Why do you think we're seeing such volatility there in those numbers? What do you think that's due to?
I think it is because of the market sentiment. It is hard to hold these kind of NFTs that fluctuates a lot through the bear market. To be honest, it hasn't been easy, I think, for everyone here at the at the table. So yeah, I think people in a bad time, they take decisions based on the sentiments, which it might be wrong, but at the end of the day, if it allows you to sleep well, go ahead and sell it for a loss.
Right.
But I think it is due to that.
Yeah, and by the way, I think there's a lot of collections where there's illiquidity, right? There's no liquidity, and we all lucked out on that one. And Ralph, what are your thoughts around that number?
Look, I'm obviously disappointed by it, right? But I get it. I understand why we are where we are. I agree. Look, I never fault anybody for taking profits. I always encourage it. If you have the opportunity to take profits, do so. I think that there's also a little bit of fatigue. I was talking to a good friend of mine who's been around the space for a long time, since back in 2016, and he was saying that he remembers end of 2017, beginning of 2018 as the last kind of shitcoin season was winding down. There was a lot of fatigue, and he included himself in that, and then kind of laid low for a while before NFTs started to pick up. So I'm hoping that we're not necessarily at that point right now, but I think a lot of people, were hurt by the fact that we saw floor price values drop as much as they did. We saw so many projects go to zero, and people started to really take profits, and a lot of people just sat on the sidelines to see what was going to happen. And I think the current lack of activity has people still sitting on the sidelines.
That brings me to that next point, right? We got 4 categories. We have buyers, we have sellers, we have traders, and we have holders. And I think I think the traders part, in sort of when we talk about Blur and farming for the token and playing all these games, I never wanted to play, for me on my end. And again, depends on how much money you're playing with, multiple wallets, making sure that there's security protocol in place. At the end of the day, and I guess Ram, I'll ask you this question, then I want to throw it over to you again, Ralph. With the Blur token farming, do you think that there was enough upside for those that participated, and now that the market's going to normalize, which this report showed to be true, and said, what got Blur here is not necessarily what's going to keep it here, but they're here. They're in there. They're competing head to head with OpenSea, and we'll dive into that a little bit more. But do you think that it was worth it for all the people that were, playing the whole token farming game? Again, I don't know much about it because I never wanted to participate. Thoughts, Rommel?
I think, well, from a brand perspective, I think it's really good for market awareness. So like users have a really good incentive to use the platform. In terms of profit, it depends, right? If you're a good trader, or if you're just a fish in a big ocean. So I will say, in terms of the just closing the idea, it is really good for market awareness, for sure.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I'm still stuck on OpenSea. It's kind of like, is it McDonald's or is it Wendy's? Where we talked before we came on. I'll probably go to Wendy's. That's just me personal. I'm getting in studio. Ralph, what are your thoughts at the end of the day, right? Because Rommel made a really good point. It all came down to market awareness, and that was the one big thing that Blur did to now compete, because it's website. I mean, I remember telling you early on, I was like, I don't really like the color font. I like OpenSea. It seems a lot cleaner, and they're now doing the gem aggregator, and they got the OpenSea Pro, and it just feels comfortable for me. I don't really want to leave that. What are your thoughts?
I feel the same way you do, right? I think that Blur has a place definitely for very, very active traders, people that are doing this mostly full time or most of the time. But I don't think that the regular consumer is going to find comfort in using Blur, right? And the more I talk to people, with the kind of follower base that the Daily Ralph has, I have a lot of people that are just coming into the space, and they don't get Blur at all. They don't understand the farming aspect. They don't understand why they want to do that, and that's fine, right? There's platforms for all different kinds of things. If you just go out into the real world, there's the Amazons of the world, there's specialized shops, and depending on what it is that you're looking for or the kind of consumer that you are, you're going to gravitate to where you feel comfortable. So I definitely think that there's space in the space for multiple marketplaces. And I think that people are going to gravitate to where they go. I do think that Blur farming has hurt the space, especially when we were looking at maybe 100 active traders on Blur, and of those 110 were really the most active going back and forth. I don't know that really helped at all. And I think that if we really strip back, and Rommel could probably speak to this better than I can, if we really strip out, what was going on in terms of Blur engagement, the numbers that we're really looking at are dismal. And that's a little scary.
Well, I
agree with Ralph, because it allows wells to manipulate the floor prices and to dump NFT collections. So yeah, that's like the really downside. No,
I love that. And MetaMatt, you were going to say something. Great point, by the way, Rommel.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, because I know, Craig, you were saying there's buyers, there's sellers, there's traders, and that's for Blur, that's definitely true. But with OpenSea, and just even with onboarding, nowadays onboarding people into Web3, I think there's another category, which is the collectors. Especially for OpenSea, I think Blur, they Ralph was saying, they have their farming and all that. I think it's great for the traders. I think OpenSea is still going to be the go-to for the collectors, and just even for people who are getting onboarded into the space, because I don't think a lot of people are going to be onboarded because they want to trade NFTs, because they want to, see what the utility of this cool project their friend told them is about. So I think OpenSea is still going to be the king there.
I agree. In my mind, I'm thinking about my wallets. I'm thinking about what I have in them. I'm thinking about, again, when you move things, it costs money because of the gas. But I'm thinking about what I want in each wallet, and then I want to protect those things. And I'm very big, I think, from our conversation, Ralph, from the Daily Ralph, and before you mint this, use a minting wallet. Don't be foolish. Don't lose it all. And it was caution to the wind, but it's really important. We have to remind ourselves, because these things of the ENS registration and in security protocols, it's really important. I do want to hop into the next thing, but before I do, I want to say, you're either a buyer, you're a seller, you're a trader, or as we say, collectors, holders. I'm a holder. I don't want to play that game unless I have such a huge upside where I see that money that I can apply to my mortgage, to my kids' schooling, whatever it is. That's when that becomes valuable. But other than that, being in the space, being part of communities, building social currency is incredibly important. And that's why I'm a holder. And that's why I'll continue to collect. That's why I'll continue to invest. But I don't want to just chase around the latest trends. And it'll speak to in a little bit about some of the lessons that I learned, which was following around the latest hot trend. And I felt like this podcast hedged against that, because I could talk about it. And eventually, as this podcast continues to grow, this will be my NFT landscape, or the value that I will gain. This will be the utility. So I want to hop into the next part, right? Alpha on being smart with NFTs and how you should approach this space according to NFTGO. Well, I agree with them on these three things. And so hence why these things made the cut. Buying high quality NFTs at a low price and holding them long term. Huge. Second one, bulk minting NFTs from niche projects and selling them at a higher price. Imagine that one, people. And the last one, identifying profitable NFT categories for high frequency trading. So Rommel, let me come to you first, and then I'm going to deviate over to Ralph. Which one to you stuck out from what I just read of those three?
I think like the three are really important. To be honest, they sound like kind of tricky and kind of easy. But when you're out in the game, it is super hard because sentiments and emotions, they come up, and yeah, you get greedy, which is sometimes it's really bad because you say like, hey, I won't sell it for a 30, 100, 200%. So if you don't sell it, it is not profit at all. So I think it is really good to do profits to realize gains. So yeah, I will keep up with the three. I will say in different order depending on the strategy, but all of them are really important.
So let me ask you, Rommel. I know you can't be, you have to be careful on not being biased. But when you think about niche projects, the first one that comes to mind, and number two, bulk minting NFTs from niche projects and selling it at a higher price. I'm not talking about the selling at a higher price, but when you think about niche projects, what would be a perfect example to you? And then I'll come to you, Ralph.
Like niche projects?
Niche projects.
I don't want to be I don't want to be biased or have like a mainstream thought, but I will say Bored Sketch Club. When I got into the Web3, they were around like 1 ETH, and I was like, no, they're gonna go up. I mean, I saw that they had a really strong community, but like doing my research, I thought that they were overvalued, and well, the time has taught me that it was the opposite way. So
yeah. No, I love that. And I want to throw one thing, and then Ralph, I want to come to you. When I buy in sets of 3 now. This is because of one of the NFTGO reports. It's one. MetaMatt's laughing. And the second thing I'm doing, I'm buying floor. I was talking to my cousin this afternoon, and he's we were just talking about trading, and there's certain collections that he's in, and we were talking about higher traits. The problem in a market where there's not the liquidity in there is that those traits, you probably go in Discord, you're working side deals because that community values that. But as a general public, they don't really value the higher rarity in trait. At some point, when money really comes back in and we get more people on, some of these things that we're holding are going to be so valuable. And the question is, you ride this elevator up, and it tests the question of your greed. And I say, what can you apply it to now that benefits your real life? Ralph, what are your thoughts?
So I've heard Matt talk about discipline before on this show, right? And I think as an NFT trader, collector, whatever you want to call it, you have to have discipline. So that includes taking profits, knowing what your top band is, your bottom band is, and knowing what your limits are, right? So I like you, will not mint one of anything. I typically mint 2 or 3, given the opportunity, because you may fall in love with something. You may want to hold one. You may want to sell the other ones. So unless it's a one-of-one piece of art or something where I'm only able to get one because I'm forced to, I always try and buy more than one, so I have a little bit of free range to play with it. But I also set some rules for myself, right? So if I can 5x something, I will sell it. Even if that means selling it, not being in the project, and then having to sit on the sidelines for floor price to come back down. And then if I still have the same level of conviction, I'll go back in and play the game again. And the same thing with things going down. I unfortunately have held things for way too long, longer than I would have wanted. And I learned that lesson. Rommel has to tread a finer line. I don't have to tread as fine a line as Rommel does. I learned that lesson with Cool Cats, where I bought a Cool Cat at the very top, and I rode it all the way down to 2.8 ETH, and I think I had paid 17 ETH for it. That was a hard lesson for me because I knew better. And every time it would come there, I'd go, oh, it's going to come back. It's going to come back. But I didn't have the data to actually back that, right? I wasn't sitting on NFTGO really looking at the black and white of it, looking at the charts, and I was just going on gut, and my gut betrayed me in that sense, and I rode it all the way to the bottom. So lesson learned, and other than my current PFP, I'm applying those rules to everything that I'm buying.
Risk to reward is the key right there. You need, like you said, you need to know your bottom, your top lines is your risk and your reward. Because if you go into a trade, like you said, and you don't know where I always say stop loss, but in the NFT world, I guess this is where you're willing to sell for a loss, because it does happen. Everyone loses sometimes. We can't all be winners, but like you said, like if you're going to buy the top, you have to, at the very least, at least have a good, good idea of what you're going to be doing before getting into the trade when it comes to your exit strategy. And
100%. I mean, look, yesterday there was a Bored Ape holder that sold a Bored Ape for a 39 ETH loss. And on paper, man, that's like painful. But I also look at the market conditions right now, and I look at it, and he walked away with 100 ETH in his pocket right now. It's still a loss. It doesn't take the loss away, but could he have, held off? And what if those Bored Apes come down another 10 ETH? Right? It's a hard one.
That's an interesting thing, because what did we see happen, right? And we have a lot more, everyone, to unpack in this conversation. There's so much more. So anybody who's in Twitter Spaces, I'm not paying too much attention to that. Retweet the room. So much great conversation to be had. But it's a really great point, because we saw some people leaving the Bored Ape yacht ecosystem, selling their Bored Ape, then to just hop into meme coins. And then some of them had some massive success stories. And that, to me, is what sparked meme coin season, if you want to call it. I believe that the road will lead back to Pepe, but I also believe that it will be a very violent road. And by that, this is my prediction based on fundamental. You have technical and you have fundamental. And I think, Rommel, the thing that is always challenging, CoinMarketCap, I mean, I go to them to look at the charts, great information. NFTGO, I get insight and information from you guys all the time. I retweet. I want to know what's going on. You guys are the bedrock. I'm going to reach out to Jared this week, and he's like, we have a meeting at the same time. So you got NFTGO right now going live. And he's like, I'm going to get Rommel in there. And so I so appreciate it. But this is the quality of platform that you have with the data and the analytics support it. But I think we're in a time of really fundamental. What is the feel of the market? What is the sentiment? Ralph, as you do your daily Ralph update, and every day you put out that newsletter, you're always finding the trends. And as you said, there's not a lot of exciting things. I kind of like quiet in the water. And I like quiet in the water because there's going to be a ripple at some point. You just don't know if we're at a pond, if it's the far end of the pond, if it's behind us, wherever it is, we want to be on the lookout and be aware. And so if we're measuring the fundamentals, I want people to think people left Bored Ape to go do this, to eventually come back and claim their Bored Ape. That's a really interesting thing, because I think I've grown attached to some of my PFPs. I don't know. So let me throw this back to you guys, right? When we think about the NFT market being community driven, what are the primary factors we should consider for both a short and long-term play? And so, Rommel, I want to throw that to you, okay? What should we be thinking about community driven, and how does that relate to NFTGO's analytics when you're looking at social currency?
I think, I want to start with this. So I think currently the market is driven by sentiment. Yeah, you see Pepe, you see Four, you see another kind of coins who are people pumping on crypto Twitter, and you also see that on the NFT side. You see these NFT collections are related to Pepe the meme, and I think it is because of that. Like, people want to be like troll, or they want to troll the community. So I think that's why these kind of collections are pumping, or the meme coin season has started. But I think so from my individual perspective, I think it's really great and funny to see like these kind of popular memes to become like a meme or a token or an NFT collection. And I really love it, because it is like how the human behavior interacts in a different way, and not only through Discord, Twitter, or any other kind of social media, but through NFTs and tokens. So it's more like a philosophical perspective, and I really love it. But I think it's kind of risky too. Like, if you don't know what you're doing, I think it's kind of hard to do the exit, and someone else will exit liquidity you. So it's kind of hard, like to be involved in those kind of tokens. What are your thoughts, guys?
No, I love that. And by the way, so Ralph, you say things are quiet in the water, and I agree with you. This is all you do every day, is pump out great content. Because it is, I would ask you the same thing. What are some trends that we should consider as we're plotting and planning our next move into a community, or doubling down onto a community that really has a strong social currency fabric?
I would continue to stick with art and utility projects that are aligned with whatever your values are. So in my case, I love music. I've always loved music. So I'm doubling down on music NFTs and music artists. And I'm doing it not with the explicit intention that I'm going to profit from it. I'm just supporting the kind of things that I like supporting in my life. Same thing with one-of-one art or just art in general. Earlier this year, we said that this was going to be the year of art alpha, and it continues to be, as evidenced by what we're seeing at Christie's and Sotheby's, both in the traditional sense and in the digital sense. But I'm having a lot of fun just really aligning with communities where I feel loved and accepted and I fit in and I have fun, which when things are pumping and everything's moving at 1,000,000 miles an hour and you're doing speculative trading, it's not that easy to stay engaged. So when things are quiet, you actually get to go hang out in the places where it feels like family.
I love that. And so let me throw this to you, right? Art, utility, music. And this is not somebody to go out and go purchase right now. And I'm heavy into the art and the utility. The music I like, I really haven't dived into there yet. Give me 2 artists right now that just excite you. Doesn't mean someone goes out and buy it. I want to be very clear on this. What are your 2 artists that just excite you right now?
Angel Baby is part of the Hume Collective. It is a digital artist. It's actually an NFT based artist that's based on the Fluff ecosystem. Phenomenal artist, super involved with his fan base. Every single one of the decisions that's made for that artist is made by the fans, which I absolutely love. Another one is Spotty Wi-Fi. Love Spotty. He's funny. He's engaging. He's very smart at what he does, and he does an incredible job. So there's another one. I mean, I could probably give you a whole list of artists.
I know you could.
And I love the music space. Just today, Aoki released a Web3 player with relics that I'm pretty excited about. So there's a lot of really interesting things going on in the music space right now.
I love that. Aoki, relics, Spotty, and then you also mentioned Angel Baby. Let's get to the next part, right? We think about this space being a heavy gamble. And by the way, everybody that's in Twitter Spaces, we have all the pinned tweets, but I do want to talk about NFT loan platforms. All right. And I'll also do a screen share in a second, Tony, not yet. But Rommel, start talking to us a little bit about NFT FI lending platform, the market, which was revived in Q1 with loans amounting to $25 million from January to March. It's kind of like illiquidity. You go, you grab liquidity, then you hope that you're going to buy it back. So you're playing sort of this double-edged game. You better be a mathematician and your timing better be impeccable. Tell me a little bit about these NFT lending platforms.
I'm really bullish on the NFT lending protocols because it helps or it solves one of the main problems of the NFTs, which is the liquidity, right? And I don't think that this behavior that we saw in Q1, it was due to two things. The first one, it was like people are trying to take advantage of the market opportunities, right? So imagine leveraging using with your NFT to buy another NFT collection or to double down the NFT collection that you're in. So to be honest, I'm super bullish. I think it's like a really good time for people to adopt these kind of protocols. And to be honest, so it has like two different ways. I think it's like a win-win case where in the first part, the lender is able to get the NFT if the other person do not pay the lend. So I think it's kind of risky if the NFT collections goes or decrease the price. However, it is like I think it's like a I don't know like a impermanent loss in some way where you can lose with the NFT collection and floor price decrease, or with the token decreasing its value. So it's kind of risky. You have
NFT lending platforms that are also community based, which it goes out to the community and then it can be purchased by the community. And then you're buying. To me, it's almost as it almost becomes somewhat convoluted because a lot of your time focused, like if you're buying into an NFT collection, I want to focus on the storyline. I want to understand the utility. I want to understand how we as a team, as a community, that social fabric, are going to build together to lift this up to attract products and service in the real world and make it tangible and understandable. Ralph, what are your thoughts on NFT loan platforms?
Look, I think it's risky for some people, and it really depends on the assets that you hold. I know people who run these platforms, and they're serious businesses behind them. So I know that the liquidity is there to support it from a lender perspective. I just want to make sure that people understand what they're getting into, right? And I think the risk is having unsophisticated or newbie traders coming in thinking that they're going to use liquidity to go buy something, right? So, you know, you've been bringing up Pepe coin for a while. Imagine that you took, I don't know, you took a loan against your Bored Ape or your mutant when it was at 15 ETH. Value of that mutant comes down to 10, but you used the loan that you took out to buy Pepe thinking it was going to moon, but you bought Pepe at the top. And now you're down, whatever, 40%. Like now you're at risk of losing your collateral mutant and not having the return that you were expecting on Pepe. So that puts you in a pretty precarious situation. And I'd actually throw this back to Meta Matt, right? Like he's much more active on the traditional crypto space and stock space. Like imagine if everybody, and I know people use leverage all the time, but like imagine if fairly new traders or not very active traders came in and just started taking loans on their credit cards, for example, or against their houses or cars to go out and buy stocks.
Well, I mean, it's never trade with money that you can't afford to lose. Never, gamble with NFTs and put them out for loan if you can't afford to lose them. I mean, like you just said, but that could happen. Like I personally, I wouldn't get involved. Me personally, I'm not getting involved in any of the loading, any of that stuff. Because I'm just not educated in it, and I'm not going to put money into anything that I'm not educated in. Same with stocks, same with crypto, same with meme coins. There's a lot of people who got burnt because you saw how many people, all the new wallets that happened because of Pepe coin. A lot of people got burnt by meme coins because they didn't know what they were doing. A lot of people got burnt by NFTs, during the bull run because they didn't know what they're doing. GameStop, AMC, it happened in the stock market too. It happens everywhere. It's not just NFTs. It's not just Web3. It's anything that has to do with money.
But Matt,
the most recent example, sorry, Craig, didn't mean to cut you off. The most recent example I saw that was the day that Elon tweeted about the Miladies, right? I saw more than one, maybe a handful of people who had taken loans against great assets because they saw that pump happening and it was very short-lived, and now they're in a bind.
Now Andrew Tate's the next one who's pumping coins, apparently.
I can't
wait for that.
The Ben coin, the Elon coin, the Tate coin. Everybody's getting, it's kind of, I feel like it's great that you can make money if you have that celebrity status, but I would also say at the same time, if you're entering into Web3 as a public facing figure, that you are playing in the realm of your reputation is based on a meme coin, my gosh, we're going to remember that. That's sort of like, I guess, a politician with dirty hands. We're going to remember this 5-10 years from now, and it's not going to age well. And I would also say, to the idea of, don't gamble. It says, listen, we've all gambled. I've gambled. Ralph has gambled. I mean, Ralph, when we talk about cool cats, we have a good friend who still has it as their PFP, and it is a beautiful cool cat. And while I hope that it will come back and to get the gutter juice and all this, and everybody kind of followed the same thing that Yuka was doing. I think they started with their formula and whatever, and you burn this and create your mutant, blah, blah, blah. But only a few will have done it really right. Will that contract come back 5-10 years from now and we have more and more people in there? I think you'll get back your money. It's my thought. Again, it's just throwing a dart out there in the wind and seeing where it lands. But before you say anything, Ralph, Tony, cue up that quick screen share. I have to show the Daily Ralpha, right? We got to just do a couple of these real quick. Guys, if you're not following the Daily Ralpha, It's a really great newsletter, 5-minute or less read every single morning. Before I say hi to the kids and wife, I go downstairs, have my cup of coffee, and I meet my daily Ralpha. And that's just the honest truth, because I'm a true degen like that. Unless my kid's crying, then I'm going upstairs. Rommel Brito, if you guys are not following him, I highly recommend that you do. Incredibly intelligent individual, and it's such an honor to have him here tonight. And one of the things, obviously, that has inspired this podcast tonight is the 2023 NFT market analysis, the insider look at the Q1 report that they did in tandem with CoinMarketCap. And we will also, really quick, Mr. MetaMat Trades. If you guys aren't following him, please go and follow him. He always has great advice when it comes to web stocks, Web2 stocks, and traditional finance. He's got great insight, and the group that he works with does an incredible job. Penny Boy Stocks. Shout out to you guys. I'm still waiting on some beautiful swag. Quick call out to Austin.
That was my fault. I had it with me. I took the train in last time, and I only had a suitcase with me, so I couldn't bring it.
It's all right. It's all right. So I think I just want to get away from, and we'll just move on from it. Paraspace accounted for the largest market share in lending market, while NFTFI led in the number of NFT lending users. So it's kind of interesting, kind of like the OpenSea to Blur type of thing in the NFT lending platform protocol. Guys, if you're going to hop into that area, plot, plan, read, ask questions, talk to people that are way more intelligent than yourself. I do it every single day, so I hopefully won't make any more mistakes. By the way, quick shout out to my good friend, Mr. Emmanuel Minnick, who's hanging out in the studio. It's nice to see your handsome face in here tonight. All right. Bored Ape Yacht Club has the strongest profitability in a seller's market, and Azuki Whales. I know how you feel, Ralph. I just saw that grimace. Azuki Whales having increased by 100%. Which is the most resilient blue chip this year? And I do want to come to you, Rommel. When you hear that, you know, I think when I think of great communities behind me, actually, I just want to point to two of them, actually. ENS Maxis, I think they have a really good shot because they're directly connected. They're the first 10,000 PFP collection with the ENS logo. They've got the background. It so fits in. A lot of people who hold domains hold that. And then we also got the On-Chain Monkeys. There we go. On-Chain Monkeys, an incredible community. They're doing a lot of great things in the space. They've inspired people. They've got a great DAO. They're doing a lot of things to help other communities that were within the community, sub-communities, build through their grants committee. A lot of great things going on there. When you think about that and you hear about the Bored Ape Yacht Club, and we know that they secured $4 billion, right? They've got an arsenal of money to play with and to give values to their holders, and they're not going anywhere, just like CryptoPunks are the true OGs in the block. Do you see that there are maybe 10 or 20 communities like On-Chain Monkey, possibly, not saying that you'll say it, and I'm not asking for names, but will it be surprising to see some of those communities just pop out of nowhere and just rocket to the moon, not just with money, but with also notability and respect through the hard work that they've been putting in?
I think it's going to be a little bit harder than the bull market, and not only because of the current stage of it, but because like people have learned their lessons by, following to a random NFT collection or just throwing the money to whatever is trending. I don't think that, like, current perspective, it is more about, like, doing the due diligence, trying to see who's the team behind it, what are the BCs backing up them. So, 20 collections is kind of a lot. I will say 10. And a really good example of it, I think, is Pudgy Penguins. Like, Pudgy Penguins came from the ashes, and actually they were fundraised last week. So I think it is a really really good case to study and to showcase it on to students or whoever is interested in this space. And about the Azuki and the Bored Ape Whales. Oh man, I don't want to fight this podcast. I mean, I really love the both NFT collections in the ecosystems. I'm really bullish in both.
Rommel, you don't have to play it so safe here.
I think Rommel's being so nice, especially to us. Like he really doesn't think that we're degens. Like we're still way degening in the space. We're still gonna buy shit without even thinking about it. Like the extent of our due diligence in the space, and let's be honest, right? The extent of most people's due diligence is, trust me, bro, right? Like somebody heard something from somebody else and they're like, yeah, my buddy who I haven't talked to in 17 years just said that he bought like, deranged penguin posse NFTs, and that's going to be the next big thing.
Dude, to be honest, before I joined NFTGO, I was just throwing my money into whatever like the Discord server did. Yeah. Dude, one of my worst bets was something related to sheet papers. It was like, dude, what the fuck is this? And then Steve Aoki bought some, and I think it went to zero. I don't know.
But I mean, that's sort of the gambling thing. So Matt, you telling, oh, don't gamble. Sorry, wrong.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't gamble with your whole portfolio. I personally have like 20% of my whole portfolio that I use for YOLOing, for gambling. For not gambling but gambling in the NFT market, gambling in the stock market. I put aside a small amount for that.
It's degenerate activity.
Degenerates, yeah. Exactly.
By the way, Rommel, I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to push back on this one thing in a loving way. How many thousands of NFT communities have been launched over the past year? Ralph, can shake your head and just say a lot of communities. How many? Can you just throw a number out there?
Thousands.
20,000, 30,000, whatever. So for me to say 10 or 20 collections that will be notable. Now, mind you, will they be a 50 ETH or 100 ETH floor? Will they do what Bored Ape did or Azuki? Maybe not. But do I see communities like, for instance, On-Chain Monkey behind me or NES Maxis? And there's a few others. Again, there are a lot of pros in communities. And then there are also, like, you can call it FUD, but there are also some cons that have to be worked through. But we're so early on that we fall forward. We make these mistakes, even as a podcaster. So I would just say to you that you would have sort of the assets per capita play, right? You'd have your collections that are 50 ETH, 100 ETH. Then you'd also have your collections that are steadfast at 25 ETH. But we see so much volatility at the peak. Bored Ape Yacht Club was, 150 ETH. We're now 1/3 of that at 50 ETH, right?
Really quickly, Craig, off of that, what was the, because I wasn't around during, I was, by the time I learned about Bored Ape Yacht Club, it was way too expensive. What was like the big utility besides the fact that like Steph Curry and a bunch of celebrities had it?
I'm just going to speak to it really quick, and then I want Rommel and Ralph because they're way better at that than I am. I'm going to say that it was a lot of the airdrops. It was a lot of the drops, so they would get the ape token, which I think at the time where it dropped, if you would have cashed it out, that was $100,000. You also got dropped, I think, your puppy.
the Kennel Club. I meant prior to the hindsight, of course. But
one ape. Their goal and their mission statement, and then Ralph and Rommel, I'll let you go first, Ralph. But their thing was they want to make each ape holder a millionaire, $1 million. Go ahead, Ralph.
And they've come pretty close, right? So Matt, when it first minted, there was no promise of that other than that was like their internal goal. That's something that they had up on their wall in their office. And they actually delivered on it, right? So they airdropped the kennels first, the Bored Ape Kennel Club, which was the dogs, and then they did the serums, which turned your ape into mutants, and then you can multiply those, and then you got the ape token drop, and then you had the other side deed drop, and like progressively they have been continuously adding value to their holders. Now, the real question is today, what is the value of buying a Bored Ape at 50 ETH? Are you going to see them provide another $1 million to their holders in value? I don't know. That's a big question, right? Like I'm not saying that they won't. I'm just saying that I think that's the thought process that's going through people's heads right now that are considering, do I spend 50 ETH on Bored Ape and hope that one, it goes up beyond 50 ETH, and two, that they continue to provide additional value through either airdrops or new mechanisms? Or do you take that same 50 ETH and buy 10 Pudgy Penguins, right? Because, to Rommel's point, Pudgy Penguin is a collection that I think a lot of people are paying attention to. They just raised money. They're doing a lot of really cool stuff. Where do you have the most opportunity for growth? So if you're looking at this from purely an investment standpoint and not necessarily as a collector, you have a tough decision to make, I think, right now.
Well, Craig always says that, social currency is so important. I think the Bored Ape Yacht Club, for them, when they were really coming up, before all the airdrops, because like you said, it wasn't promised, it was all the celebrities. And now, like with Pudgy Penguins, they have Lucas, Frank. I think Degad's having Frank. I think VFriend's having Gary. I really do think the ones who are going to make it are the ones who have people who have social currency leading the charge.
And are actively involved. I got to tell you, the best parties that I have been to are Bored Ape Yacht Club get-togethers, and I'm not talking about like Ape Fest and all these big concerts and stuff. I'm just talking about their local meetups. And I've met Bored Ape community members here in Florida, in California, in Texas, in New York. So it's not always the same crowd, but they always have incredible vibes and super welcoming, right? They open you with very open arms, whether you're holding like another deed that you bought for 0.8 ETH or, whether you're holding an 800 ETH ape. They don't care. It really is an amazingly strong community.
That speaks to the word, of inclusivity, right? Because you're part of a community. Doesn't matter if you had bought other deed at 1.4 ETH or spent 14 ETH on gas. That was a very interesting conversation where we had our friend Sean, who's at a wedding, such a degen. He goes out and he spends 14 ETH on that to mint the other deed. And he did fairly well. It was maybe after a little bit of convincing through my bad trades. I'm like, dude, sell it. But, as I look at it, I think diversification is our friend. And I'd rather have a wallet of diversification, because as we bring more and more people into the space, and it's so thin, there's not enough people in here. We start bringing more people in. Some of those collections that you weren't even paying attention to, some of those collections that you thought would die are alive. And we're talking about Bored Ape and Azuki in the same sentence is mind numbing.
Every time you say Azuki, that's what I'm going to play.
Literally, every time I was just about to say
like
that.
here.
That's how I feel every time I hear about them.
Every time, that's what I'm going to play.
I don't know.
My friend Emmanuel's like, what is Azuki? Azuki was a project they thought would be left for dead. And by all intents and purposes, it should have been. It's not. It's coming alive with vengeance, and it has tentacles, and it's grabbing and it's gaining momentum, and people are making money. And Ralph doesn't really like it.
Well, I don't like it because I don't like the premise under which it was created. It was created by a guy who's a serial rugger, and he came out and said, "I'm a serial rugger." Now, look, to his credit, he has stuck with this one. Yeah. So maybe over time I'll find it in my heart to forgive him, but like I don't see myself, and again, this isn't financial advice, and I may eat my words later, like myself, I will not be supporting that project.
You know what? No, but you are, what we talk about, that credibility in the space. I won't even joke around with you on it because you have high level of credibility. Like I am developing a high level of credibility here. So
you can joke around it all the time, and I'm just going to play my sound.
You know what? We're moving on to wash trading has calmed down on Blur, and so I'm going to come to you, Rama, but I just want to read a couple things to you that I grabbed that I thought were very notable. The increase in NFT holders is not just due to the temporary attraction of airdrop incentives, as there is evidence of a growing number of genuine traders settling in the market. This is demonstrated by the gradual decrease in wash trades on Blur over time. For example, the percentage of genuine trades on Blur increased from an average of 86% in March to an average of 93% in April after the airdrop was released. What do you make of that, Rommel?
I think, well, the intelligent investors come to play on a bear market, right? So it is where the opportunities are. So I do think that people are taking advantage of it because like people are scared of losing their money or trying to exit liquidity. So I think it's pretty good to have like new wallets and new traders settling down in the market. I do think that it is also pretty good for the wash trading stuff. Why? Because like people who were not aware of this topic or they were just they were scammed in some way, or they were trapped by a floor price or for NFT collection. So it resulted in a scam or something like that. So I think like filtering the wash trading, and not only through these kind of studies, you can also do that in your platform. So I think it's pretty good to see this decrease in wash trading. What are your thoughts, guys?
Well, I mean, I'm going to go to Ralph in just a second, and then Meta, I want to hear your thoughts. But let me just throw this into you guys. Blur was incredibly creative to compete against OpenSea, which has been the king of all kings in marketplaces, right? Because ETH is a dominant player, and we're going to talk about the top 5 blockchains. We'll even bring our friends from Multiverse X. I believe either Easton or Maddie's in there. And we'll talk about just different blockchains when we talk about market share. But they were super creative to get to this point. And then that number from 86% in March to an average of 93% after the airdrop was released said that whatever it was that they did built and created enough steadfast relationship from the token farming, from the trading. So the true degens that got used to that platform will probably stay on that platform. So they've grabbed an immediate customer base, more heavier degen than myself. Now, could I go on there and play around and figure it out? I'm sure I could if I wanted to put the time in. My time spent having quality conversations with you guys. So I'm not doing that. Ralph, what are your thoughts, my friend? Wah, wah, wah.
Well, I could also throw that for Blur, but I give them credit for knowing who their customer is, right? Like they knew that through the incentive mechanisms of their airdrops first, when they airdropped those boxes that we got for trading, and then the way that they built this entire farming system and the ability to earn points and all that stuff, they knew exactly who they were going after. They weren't going after my brother-in-law. They weren't going after my mom. They weren't going after your traditional collectors, like NFT collectors. They were going after the active traders. Like they were going after the people who swing trade for 0.01 ETH, right? And by knowing that, they were able to take a big chunk from OpenSea. And there was a period of time where they did overtake OpenSea in terms of true volume.
Yep.
Now, I still go back to the fact that I don't know how real that Blur volume is, and I've been in all sorts of debates, and I've seen it go all over the map. I still think that there's still a lot of wash trading going on, probably more than we see on some of the other platforms that regularly get flagged by other people, like X2Y2 or Luxray. I see those platforms get flagged all the time in some of these NFT analytics tools, and nobody's really flagging Blur. And maybe it's because of the way that they've built the ecosystem. It's harder to keep track of, but I still think that there's a shit ton of.
But think about that, the creative genius that is behind Blur. Props off. Like, by all means, they're here, and whoever those people are, I'm bullish on them for creating what they did, because when I first saw the platform, I was like, Ralph, what is this? Like, this feels like 1983 gaming, and you're like, Craig, this is gonna be pretty big. They're gonna make a big splash, and you were right. But that's hence why you're the writer for the Daily Ralpha. You know, I want to just go into another part, which is, and we've got a lot more to cover, so this is really good. We're going to get into now we're getting into the metaphorical meat and potatoes, right? What is the parallel between ETH and NFT market cap? And Rommel, what are your thoughts on the parallel between the two?
Between ETH and the NFTs?
Yes.
Okay, so that's a hard question. So I don't think like there's like a positive correlation between ETH, especially with the price and the NFTs. Basically, with the cryptocurrency decreasing value, sometimes the NFTs they increase its value. I mean, like it is hard to.
No, I think that was, by the way, that was a great answer. It does not have to be complicated, because there's certain things that you're going to be like, I have a very important opinion, or you won't be biased on. No, that was great. So we're going to keep it moving, because we got a little bit more to cover, and I want to make sure that we're covering everything for those that are listening in and post-recording great content. Blur overtakes the OpenSea in the royalty market share since February, according to Hill Dobby's research, which was in your Q1 report with CoinMarketCap. Blur has surpassed OpenSea in market share for royalty since mid-February, and we know about the royalty battle. Blur's royalty revenue consistently equals or exceeds OpenSea's, with a peak of 1.7 million in March. OpenSea's revenue fell to a low of 300,000 at the end of February. Blur's emergence as the new leader in the royalty market is due to the introduction of the optional royalties. This is key, everyone. Optional royalties and zero gas fees that appeals to price-sensitive users. I don't care if you're a whale with lots and lots of money, or you're like me, a little minnow swimming in the lake. I like good deals too. when you think about these 4 things that I just read, Rommel, is this why they're trending so far ahead?
Okay, so I want to put this case as if we were in a restaurant, right? So I think like having you as a user or as a trader to tip the waiter or the waitress is a really good thing, right? Like, hey, if you have extra money for this NFT collection that you wanna buy or you wanna trade, yeah, of course you can tip it. But that's like the good thing about Blur is that it gives you the option to do it. And OpenSea is like, hey, you gotta do it, yes or yes. Like they don't give you the option to do that, and maybe that's why Blur is gaining traction on the trading side, because like if you're a trader, percentage and times matter. So if you're paying like 2 or 3%, and dude, if you want to make profit from it, you will have to add it to the price. Yeah,
I love that.
To the listing price.
I love it. And by the way, I learned about Blur through the Daily Ralpha. It's that simple. So when you start seeing, amongst whether it's NFTGO, you guys talk about a lot of different things. CoinMarketCap is another place that I go to for deep research. And my quick introduction is going to be every morning at 5 a.m. Or actually it's 7. I apologize, because that's when I get my Daily Ralpha. And I will notice these little things, and then I'll be like, okay, well, if it's mentioned here, where else is it going to be mentioned? And so I think people have a way to consume their content and information to kind of figure out what their next move in this unique space is, especially me as a content creator for the podcast and bringing forth this information. So let's go into, unless you have something to say, Ralph or Matt, anything to say on these?
No, the only thing I'll add is I think that's where we draw the line between collectors and traders, right? Because the trader is going to try and optimize their profits as much as possible, and they're not going to think about the backstory of that artist that had to sit and create the work and all of that stuff, right? Where a collector will appreciate it in a different way, right? And I think traditionally, as artists came into the space, they came into the space with the promise that they were finally going to be able to be compensated in perpetuity for their work, right? As opposed to having all of these middlemen profit from their work on an ongoing basis forever, right? And, a year into the space, we find out that that's actually not the case. And then Blur further amplified that by eliminating royalties altogether. And the people that were winning were the traders, and the people that were losing were the artists. And projects, really. I mean, how many projects have we seen fail because they ran out of liquidity, because they built their entire business models? Now, I fault the projects for this. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily fault Blur for this, but their entire business models were built on royalties from secondary sales. And when that dries up, Guttercat is a perfect example. You brought them up earlier, right? They ran out of money. And I don't see how they come back from that unless they launch a supplemental collection. If they get acquired by somebody, it's going to be a tough road for them.
By the way, what is Gutter? Before we get
exactly,
what is Guttercat right now what is their floor?
I think it's underneath, which is crazy.
It's underneath.
Let me check.
Yeah, I can.
I'm going to throw this out to you, and this is how crazy this space is. You got the technical, the fundamental. The fundamental, I like to say social currency. It would be one of those projects, and I'm not saying that it is it. So someone goes out and listens and says, oh, I'm going to go buy a bunch of these because it's underneath. Because it's interesting, just even as a smaller podcast, the influence that you can have on what you say. So I want to be very careful. But I would also tell you that it's not anything that someone who has a lot of ETH creates the hype, buys 20 or 30 of them, and you go, oh my God, it's trending. Oh, we got to go buy them. Go buy them. And all of a sudden, what you just said just kind of melts out. And now this is reinvigorated. And now everybody's coming back into the Twitter spaces, into their Discord, and communicating and loving on each other again. And oh my God, now it gives the founder and the team a chance to then launch out another collection. This is how weird this space really is if we're really breaking it down. And I love the analytics side of it, the technical side. That was my thought on it. All right, let's talk about what makes a high quality collection. Again, this is directly from the NFTGO report. My God, I spent hours on reading this thing, and I'm like, okay, what is the most important things for this podcast episode today when we have Ramelan and Ralph and Meta? So what is the high quality? What it makes for that high quality collection? So in the past 6 months, almost 70% of the illiquid NFT projects had a floor price. You ready for this, guys? 0. And in the past 3 months, 50% of illiquid NFT projects had a floor price between, you got it again, 0 and 0.5 ETH. Here's the conclusion. This shows that the market has a lower demand for low quality projects or collections. So what deems a low quality collection? And I would say, and then I want to hear from you, Ralph, Rommel, and Matt, I would say that when I think about a low quality, it's that you did not communicate with your community. You did not have presence of mind of the artist or that beautiful JPEG that we speak about. It's an overpriced JPEG. Shout out. I would also say that you did not talk about your roadmap extensively enough. Nobody's going to read the white paper or the blue paper or the yellow paper, but the roadmap is really important. And then having clear vision, voices in the space, high level of education, good communicators who are enthusiastic like myself. Ralph, what are your thoughts?
Listen, in this space, community is everything, and aligning yourself with your community is what's going to carry you long term. There's still a lot of speculation going on in this space. We talk about it all the time. I still think that more than 70% of people in this space, maybe more than 75% of people in this space are still speculators, and they will buy something without any regard for what that community stands for or what it is. And unfortunately for those communities, they have to wait it out and shake those people out from their trees until they end up with the kind of community that they want. Unfortunately, a lot of times in that process, the floor price suffers, the value of the collection suffers, but over time, if you end up with the right people, the project can do amazing things. And a great example that I like to use of that is Jarritos, which is the well-known Mexican soft drink, which Rommel, I'm sure, knows very well. Jarritos, in terms of a commercial success, or in terms of its commercial aspect in the NFT space, was a flop. It wasn't a success, right? They didn't mint out. The floor price dropped significantly. It was really, really bad. And what ended up happening with them is that they realized that they wanted just the people who really believed in the brand and they wanted to align themselves with. And they did just that. And they have more than over delivered for those holders. They've sent them refrigerators. They've given them experiences. They've given them the opportunity to allow lists for all different kinds of things. I don't think that there's another project, maybe Yuga, that has given back to their community as much as Jarritos. And over time, they've slowly been rebuilding their floor price. But that's
real refrigerators, Ralph?
Yeah.
Dude. And it's super crazy because
they literally gave out mini fridges, like branded Jarritos mini fridges.
They're super cool.
Look, Ramos got one.
No, I don't. But I was part of the community, and dude, they're quite active, and they sometimes do giveaways, and they randomly do a 6-pack, soft sodas stuff, and they send it to you in the US.
By the way,
they have these trucks, and in Wynwood, where I have my office here in Miami, they have these box vans that go out and they sell Jarritos and they give samples and stuff. And if you show up and you have your NFT and you show it, they give you merch, they give you all kinds of stuff. It's amazing.
Wow.
Oh wow! By the way, DGen question, and then Matt, I'm going to come to you. What's the floor price of these Jarritos?
Feel like I need a mini fridge.
Yeah.
I will tell you right now. It's called Bones by Jarritos. There's only 777 of them. That's where they stopped the collection. Originally, it was going to be a 5,000 NFT collection, and it sold out slow. The floor price is 0.4 right now.
Oh wow!
Wow! I this is why I love this is why I love this podcast. This is exactly why you get the best alpha. I always said, Rommel, is when products and services connect with matured digital asset communities, that's exciting to me. And to be at the forefront of that with content that we create is really cool. And we're going to talk about we're going to talk about chapter 2, which is micro trends and liquidity. But before we do, Matt, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, for me, when it comes to projects that are going to, make it or, be there in the long run, I definitely think that, like you just said, products and services, they need to have some way of making money, like Ralph was saying, other than just royalties. I think that was the worst business plan ever, is that, relying on royalties in a market that was brand new and in its infancy. And yeah, so for me, it's if they can build a project that can sell something, and it's good, like a company does, then I'll invest in them.
That's exciting. That's really exciting. And the fact that they're known. All right. So let's talk about microtrends and liquidity. Again, this is from chapter 2 in this report. It is pinned in the Twitter Spaces. We'll probably put it in the YouTube as well, just in case anybody wants to go through and read, but you want to learn. And this is a great report just to do it. The 2K rule, almost 70% of projects had a floor price of 0. What can we learn from this moving forward? 70% of projects. It's not surprising.
Everything goes to 0, Craig. That's it. Like that's the lesson. Everything goes to 0.
I'm still a big believer that 10 to 20 communities, in each area, utility, art, are going to just have big numbers to them. And in the next 5 years, people are going, why didn't I get into that? We talked about Christie's this morning, Ralph. Did you say $750 million purchase?
Just under $750 million in a week.
And that's a key indicator, aside from, Ralph, lipstick and underwear. That's a whole other time. All right. The top 1% of NFT projects take up over 50% of the total market cap. Less than 1% of projects hold 52% of the market cap. The top 50 projects analysis. This data tells us that the proportion of NFT projects and market distribution far exceeds the 80-20 rule. And I always think about that as it relates to business. And Rommel, I'm going to come to you in a second. But, you have, say in real estate, you have 100 realtors in the room. They go, 20% of the realtors are going to do 80% of the business. Just giving you a real world example. For those of you that are listening in, didn't pick up on that one. I'm going to say right now, based on our current market conditions, it's probably 5% of those agents do 80 to 90% of that business. It has shrunk. And in Web3, I'd say that number is even more finite. Rommel, what do you say, my friend?
I think it is happening in all the tech industry, including traditional stock market. You see, for example, Apple taking his market, the market cap of the company. It is over the Russell 2000. It's super crazy. So you see the same here in the NFT market. I don't think like it is consolidating for the blue chip collections. You see CryptoPunks, Bored Apes, Mutant Apes, Azukis, the Captains, and some others. So I think like people are just playing safe here during these market conditions. But it is wild. I mean, but it is not only on the Web3. I think it is happening in all the tech industry.
Yeah. I mean, and listen, the art world doesn't tell us. And, when Ralph speaks on that, and he's talked quite a bit about trends in his report. And, I think there's like a fine line of talking about traditional finance and also the DeFi plays and what's going on there. Assets per capita. Let's get to that. And we're going to bring some people up in a little bit. We still have a little bit more of data. I mean, this is a very unique episode because, again, we dove into it and I really wanted to make sure that we did this Q1 report justice, because as we're building our relationships with NFTGO and with all the other great platforms that are doing incredible things, I got to show that I've taken my time. So assets per capita. What does this tell us as it relates to the market position? And speak to the core audience, right? So after removing invalid projects, the average assets per capita of a single project is $3,893, and the median is $1,459. All right. So then the next is the 63% difference. The average median indicates a high correlation or a concentration of assets among rich users, increasing this gap between rich and poor holders of different projects. Thought that was really interesting. And we'll talk about that wall right here. It comes. The ranking of assets held per capita. That means in each wallet. Stratified distribution. Guys, you got ChatGPT. Any of these words that are just go, what is stratified distribution? That's what I do when I want to learn. CryptoPunk ranks first with $486,000 per capita. That's, I believe, per wallet. And Ralph, I'll have you speak to this a little more in detail. Bored Ape Yacht Club, 292,000 assets per capita. And you ready, Ralph? You're going to need the want. Azuki third at 87,000 per capita. And by the way, that was overtaken by MeBits. It was MeBits, the last report you guys had out. Ralph, I'm going to let you start, and then I want to hear from you, Rommel.
What do you want to know from my side, Craig?
All right, just the top two. We'll leave the third one alone because it's irrelevant and we don't want it to
in my book, but it's not irrelevant for everybody else. Look, those projects right now are the ones that are carrying this space forward. If we didn't have Yuga right now, we wouldn't even be having this show. Like, because they're literally carrying the space for a lot of the reasons that we talked about earlier, right? All of the things that they've done to give back to these communities, and to their holders. And I think that's always going to reign supreme. I also agree with you that over time, we're going to see collections come back. Like we're going to see things like Yeti or some of the most like awkward things that we don't even like remember now, or we may have in our hidden folders, all of a sudden have a tremendous amount of value. But I would agree with your assessment of what you said in the realtor space. I think it's like 5% of these projects are carrying 99% of the industry right now.
And by the way, Rommel, before we come to you, I just want to give the quick conclusion on this. And then I do want to talk about Twitter Spaces. There are a lot of people in there I want to give shout outs to because I want to acknowledge them for taking out their time to come here and listen to this great podcast. And guys, retweet the room. Love to get some more people in before the end. Maybe a 15-minute Twitter Spaces. But again, heavy data analytics here tonight. So I think the advantage of the following of the assets per capita. NFT players can form groups of different spending power, allowing developers of NFT projects and infrastructure to design and market their products according to the different user needs. That's sort of my summary of it. Rommel, what are your thoughts?
I think it's same as Ralph said. I don't think like there's like 5, maybe 10 projects carrying all the whole NFT market. So it is like Apple taking the Nasdaq at the time or the S&P 500.
Yep.
And it do happen on the traditional market, like where you see like these big tech companies, putting in their bags the index. So I think since we are quite new, the industry is quite new. So I think it's kind of what we expected of it, right? But since the market keeps maturing, I think it's going to be distributed in a better way.
I hope you're right on that. And by the way, let's get to Twitter Spaces, and then we're going to come back to some more data, and then we'll be closing it out in the next 10 minutes, and we'll stay open for Spaces a little bit if people want to come up and just want to go into a couple different things. First off, a big shout out to Stephen Miller. I see you in there. Doobie.eth. Don Paulo, always great to see you in. Tony's mustache, by the way, is looking great. Toro, Rancid, Wylan, I see you. Dolo, Duck, thank you so much for coming in. Love the PFPs, guys. And let's keep this moving. All right, so projects, let's see here. I'm just kind of looking at sort of where we want to go. We talked a lot about assets per capita, and I think that was really important. And guys, if you don't know about it, you definitely want to learn because it will help you make the moves. Is it, and as Ralph said before, is it going into that Bored Ape, or is it taking that 50 ETH and really diversifying it? I'm a bigger fan of diversification because in this space, you don't know who will end up number 3 on a list next time. What top 10 communities excite you most from the combination of this report in Q1? And, I think I just want to come back really quick because Rommel, I'm not going to be redundant on that question, but I think, and again, it's not favoritism, but guys, go into and follow Pudgy Penguins. Again, I don't own anything in their ecosystem. There's no skin in the game, but there's something speaking to the social currency where the data that you guys report on is relevant enough for you to mention their name. It's not favoritism. Just go look them up. There's a lot of great communities. That's just one of many. I guess, the one thing that I look back at is, projects with ETH volume, right? And we think about, from Bored Ape Yacht Club to Sandbox. Those were like the top projects. And I hope that Meta Land will come back. There was a big play. We know Facebook last year, Meta, now they're taking the Meta sign off. Mark Zuckerberg, he's such an interesting guy. I'd love to interview him, just pick his little brain. All right. According to data published in the NFT market report that you guys did for the Q1, I want to talk about blockchain breakdown. And Rommel, we're going to come to you, but we're also going to try to get in the spaces. We're going to have X first come up and talk a little bit about Multiverse X, which is not on here. So I want to talk about it as we break it down. Ethereum, $514 million market cap. Solana, 90 million market cap. And then Polygon, which is the layer 2 for Ethereum, 52 million market cap. Immutable X, 27 million. BNB, 18 million. When you think about these blockchains, right, and then we think about other blockchains that are out there that are building, developing, I think I noticed one thing that's really important. It is first to market, and then it's cohesiveness, and then third, for the true degens and all of us, ease of use. What are your thoughts, Rommel?
I think it is also another factor, and it is state of the market, right? So I think that Ethereum is leading the way because of it. Differently to other chains, Ethereum has, well, in my perspective, the most developed ecosystem, and not only for NFTs but also for DeFi, for different kind of tools. So I think that's why. Well, I think that's why one of the reasons why Ethereum is leading the way. But depending on the needs of the dApp or whatever the tools you're developing, it might change. So I'm pretty excited to see some other chains competing against Ethereum.
Yep.
They might. Yeah. I don't believe on the state of Ethereum killers, but I think it's really good for the ecosystem.
Yeah, I mean, cross-chain agnostic, and big shout out to Multiverse X and the Xverse team for all the work they do. Ralph, what are your thoughts?
Look, I agree with Romo on this one. I think we're going to see a lot of shift and changes and things going on. I think that we're going to see Polygon continue to grow. I think as more people build on layer 2 solutions, like, the way that we're dealing with gas right now is not sustainable in ETH, right? You're not going to mass onboard consumers if you're having to pay whatever, $40 in gas to mint a $19 cryptoy, for example, right? It's just not going to work. So people need to build on those layer 2 solutions. I also think that, we may see the Solana ecosystem stage a comeback because there's a lot of gaming platforms building on there. So I think, it's the proverbial, we're still very early kind of comment, and we are, and I think we're going to see those chains shift. I don't foresee ETH going anywhere. I think it's still going to be the dominant player. We've been seeing a lot of moves on Bitcoin lately with ordinals and all of the minting activity going on there. I'm looking forward to the next couple of days at Bitcoin Miami. Last year I was at that conference. I felt completely out of place, despite the fact that I've been in the blockchain space for a long time. Talk about maxis at that conference, and nobody wanted to talk about NFTs. The moment the word NFT came out of your mouth, you were like shunned. Nobody wanted to talk to you. But this year, I don't think that they can avoid it. Now it's going to be interesting what the tone of that conversation is going to be, right?
I see Solana like an Android and Polygon, like a BlackBerry, but Ethereum's the Apple. I had an Android for like a year or so, and I think I liked it better than I like the app with my iPhone. But now I have an iPhone, and I've had an iPhone for a while because everyone has an iPhone and it's easier to use. So
except Craig, but we'll forgive him for that.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, yeah, at some point I'll probably make the switch, but perfect. That was like right on time. So I do want to wrap this up on this portion of the segment, and then MetaMatt, we're going to have you hit with the rapid fire questions. This was so cool because we dived into a lot of data. We talked about things that are fundamentally relevant as to this space. We talked kind of about strategy, and Ralph dropped some really good alpha, as well as Rommel backing up some really good information from this report. I do want to make mention, we did pin in there is the, I like Elon. He goes against the grain. They're thinking about bringing someone on who's going to be the head of Twitter, and they talked about advertising. It's pinned in there, and the questions. Crypto Twitter is incredibly important for this space. Obviously, Twitter Spaces is what in part will help to develop our platforms a little bit more. Monetization, really being inclusive, I think, is incredibly important. Welcoming to everybody. And then, as you just said, Ralph, if someone's there, they've got a Bored Ape. Doesn't matter if it was 800 ETH. Doesn't matter if it was 0.4. Everybody is family. And the person that has 800 ETH, well, I'm just praying for your long, long hold. Hodl, hodl, hodl. I do want to do one quick last thing from my end, and then MetaMatt, I want you to hit Rommel with some rapid fire questions. And Rommel, if we have enough time, maybe we'll reverse it and we'll allow you to hit me with some questions before we go off to Twitter Spaces. So quick past guest reviews. These are 3 reviews, just, 3 guests that I had on that are very important, near and dear to my heart. One is Will Reinrob from Cryptoys, what he's building on the Flow blockchain with Cryptoys, the licensing agreements, how he strategizes. Most importantly, true leader. He's got great people that work around him. I'm constantly in touch with them, and he's going to come on as a guest co-host to fill your beautiful spot, MetaMatt, for just 1 episode, if you'll always allow me that permission from time to time. Thank you, sir. The next one, obviously, is that handsome guy with the bald head on the screen, Ralph Quintero. We had our conversation this past last summer, and I remember just like researching you and researching what you're doing, and I'm like, I'm going to leave such a great impression that months later, I'm going to say, Ralph, do you want to come on and do your daily, weekly Ralph update on CraigO's Crypto Corner, the best in Web3, blockchain, NFT, and cryptocurrency technology? And he's going to be like, yeah, I'm going to do it. Let's go for it. So it's just an honor to have you here. You're a bedrock of knowledge. You're highly credible. And it's just an honor to always be in your presence.
Thank you, man.
The last person I want to give a shout out to is Mr. Stephen Miller. Smart guy, great strategist, doing things each and every day in the space to make it better, bringing credibility, high level of trust. Good friend of mine as well. So that's my quick past guest reviews. I'm always honored. There's a lot of great people that I've had conversations with. We're well past 100 episodes. Now, Mr. MetaMatt, hit Rommel with the rapid fire questions. And Rommel, if you don't feel safe with his questions, just duck under the table and unplug your computer and we're out.
So I know we're at the 10 o'clock mark. So I just have one question for you. And this is this important one for me. And just because I know that a lot of people who follow Craig, follow myself, follow Ralph, follow NFTGO, they're here for education. And security is a huge thing, I think, in this space, especially for people who are just getting into the space. When it comes to Ledger, what do you think about this whole debacle that's happening just recently? With this back. Well, I know Craig made a tweet about it. I know Ralph, you definitely know all about it. And I'm just curious what you all think about that. So, of course, starting with you.
Where can I turn off my computer? Just kidding. All right. So, okay. So here's the thing. I do think it is a really good tool. What Ledger developed for newbies, for people who are really aware how the Web3 works and how the security works in terms of cold wallets. It might be bad, but dude, there's a lot of other mechanisms for security. You have multi-sigs, you have SSS, security. So, or even without just multi-sig, dude, you are completely safe unless you're a dumb. But but yeah, I think it's really good for mass adoption in terms, for market awareness and adoption for Ledger. However, on crypto Twitter, there has been a lot of food, which it might be bad, but I don't think like people always forget, the food in maybe a week, a month. We don't know.
Do you personally prefer Ledger or MetaMask?
Okay, so I have a Ledger, I have Rainbow Wallet, I have my Trezor. So, dude,
oh wow.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, like, okay, so between Trezor and MetaMask, I think there's no comparison, but I would rather use Ledger, comparing with Trezor. But for mobile wallet, I would rather use a Rainbow Wallet.
Love it.
I guess since this is rapid fire, last quick question for you as far as that, just in general, if you had to put, on your Ledger, on whatever wallet it is, if you could have either DeGods or Bored Ape Yacht Club, the same amount of money, 10 DeGods, whatever, however that equals, which one would you rather have, DeGods or Bored Ape Yacht Club?
90% Bored Apes.
Going for the
because
Bored
of
Apes?
the airdrops, right? Yeah, I will be. Yeah. I mean, like, I don't know if DeGods have any plans for airdrops. I do really love what Frank is doing, but dude, Bored Ape is another kind of animal.
I would take the DeGods.
Oh, really? Why? I would love to.
I'm an influencer. I think that Frank and what he's doing just personally resonates more to me, and I think that I personally would get more out of being a holder of a DeGods than I would a Bored Ape Yacht Club, because I'm not trying to meet like Eminem and Snoop Dogg and all that kind of stuff. But, I want to meet Frank and the holders of DeGods.
And that speaks to the beauty of the space, right? You align yourself with the projects that speak to you and your values.
Yeah.
I'm wherever Ralph is. Ralph, where are you? We're boarding?
I've got like a ton of ledgers sitting on my desk. I have both. I'm a Ledger, MetaMask, Fire plugin guy. I would probably split that ETH between both of those projects, to be honest with you, because I believe in both of those ecosystems, and I think that they can both be around for the long term.
That's cheating. That's not how the question goes, Ralph.
Let me
Let's play safe, Ralph.
We had Kevin DeGods on. We had a great conversation. I'm bullish on him. It's again, mind you, I'm going to be 46, 20 something. It's not. I want to talk to the guys that have had decades of experience that also connect with guys like Frank. That was such a good move on Frank's part, and that relationship hit off, and that was a great episode and a great conversation. Yeah, so those are my thoughts. I love those rapid fire questions as always, Matt. We're going to tune it out here now on the podcast. We're going to stay open on Twitter Spaces. There are a handful of people that would like to engage with us a little bit. So Ralph, if you have another 10 minutes, and Rommel, if you have another 10, and Meta, do you?
Oh yeah.
I actually do not, because otherwise you're not going to have a Daily Ralph tomorrow morning.
Get out of here. I want my Daily Ralph at 7 a.m. or 9 a.m., whatever it is. I read it.
7 a.m. All right, guys. It was incredible being here. I appreciate all of you. Rommel, nice hanging. Matt, as always. And I hope, Craig, you'll have us back. I hope we weren't too disruptive.
He was trying his best to go on the show notes. And meanwhile, here we are just degenerating out.
We got it all done, guys.
We did.
Got it all done.
We got through it.
That shows how professional Craig is as a host, honestly.
All right. That's it, Tony. Cut him out. We're done.
We just got Tucker Carlson.
Thank you so much for watching CraigO's Crypto Corner, the best in Web3, blockchain, NFT, and cryptocurrency technologies. CraigO signing off.